The last line. Captain Sarah Chen stood at the viewport of the UES Ascendant, watching the distant stars shimmer against the void. Each point of light represented a potential refuge for humanity, yet none offered salvation from the approaching storm. The holographic display beside her tracked the incoming Correxian fleet, 300 warships strong, their formation spreading across space like a deadly constellation. Final diagnostics complete, Captain. Lieutenant Marcus Rivera reported from his station. The echo field is stable and ready for deployment. His voice carried a mix of pride and apprehension, the same emotions that had followed their experimental ship since its launch 3 months ago. Sarah nodded, her reflection in the reinforced glass, showing a woman whose 40 years had been earned in equal measures of study and combat. The Ascendant represented humanity's greatest achievement, a vessel that could analyze, adapt to, and redirect any energy weapon used against it. The theory had seemed impossible until Dr. Yuki Tanaka proved otherwise, revolutionizing their understanding of quantum field manipulation. Status of the civilian evacuation? Sarah asked, though she already knew the answer. The information was displayed clearly on her neural link, but some questions needed to be voiced, needed to become part of the historical record. Last transport cleared the system 10 minutes ago. Commander David Walsh responded from Tactical. Earth is as empty as we can make it, given the time we had. He left unspoken the knowledge that millions still remained on humanity's homeworld, too many to evacuate in the 3 weeks since the Correxians had announced their intention to cleanse Earth of its technological contamination. The Ascendant hung in high orbit, humanity's last line of defense. Traditional weapons had proven useless against Correxian shields. Their energy barriers operated on principles that seemed to defy physics itself. But that's where the echo field came in. Dr. Tanaka had discovered that any energy system, no matter how advanced, left traces of its operational patterns in subspace. The echo field could read these patterns, adapt to them, and create perfect counterpoints. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, Lieutenant Rivera announced. Correxian advance fleet dropping into normal space. Sarah watched as the first wave of alien ships materialized. Their vessels resembled massive crystalline structures, each facet gleaming with internal energy, beautiful, in their way, like everything the Correxians created. Their civilization was over 10,000 years old, and they viewed younger species as cosmic accidents that needed to be corrected. All hands, battle stations, Sarah ordered, her voice carrying throughout the ship. This is what we trained for. This is what the Ascendant was built for. She moved to her command chair, feeling the subtle vibration as the ship's quantum core powered up to full capacity. The first Correxian transmission arrived exactly as expected. Their ships always attempted communication before attacking, not to negotiate, but to explain why destruction was necessary. The alien commander's holographic form materialized on the bridge, its crystalline body refracting light in complex patterns. Primitive vessels, the Correxian's translated voice echoed with artificial harmony. Your existence disrupts the greater pattern. Accept correction or be eliminated. Sarah stood, facing the hologram. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the UES Ascendant. We decline your offer of correction. Earth is under our protection. The Correxian's crystalline form shifted colors, indicating what their intelligence suggested was amusement. A single ship cannot alter the pattern. Your defiance is noted, but irrelevant. The transmission cut off, and Sarah allowed herself a small smile. They always underestimate us. Lieutenant Rivera, bring the echo field online. Commander Walsh, prepare for defensive maneuvers. Let's show them why that's a mistake. The Correxian ships moved with perfect coordination, their formation realigning for attack. Energy began building in their weapons arrays, the prelude to their standard opening barrage. The Ascendant sensors recorded every fluctuation, every quantum signature. Echo field at full power, Rivera reported. Pattern analysis processing at optimal levels. Incoming fire, Walsh warned. Multiple heavy energy weapons charging. Sarah settled into her command chair, securing her harness. Hold position. Let them make the first move. The space between the ships erupted in a dazzling display as the Coraxians launched their attack. Beams of pure energy, each capable of splitting a conventional warship in half, converged on the Ascendant's position. But instead of destruction, something extraordinary happened. The echo field flared to life, its invisible network of quantum sensors reading and analyzing the incoming attack in microseconds. The energy weapons didn't impact the ship. They were absorbed, their patterns recorded and refined by the Ascendant's revolutionary defensive system. Pattern analysis complete, Rivera announced, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. Echo Field has full signature lock on their weapon systems. Sarah leaned forward. Now we show them what humanity can do. Return fire, using their own energy signatures. The Ascendant's Echo Field reversed polarity, channeling the absorbed energy back at the Coraxian fleet. But this wasn't simple reflection. The ship's quantum processors had analyzed the alien weapons' fundamental patterns, found their resonant frequencies, and turned that knowledge into a devastating counterattack. The results exceeded even their simulations. The redirected energy passed through the Coraxian shields as if they didn't exist, the perfectly matched frequencies creating a bypass effect that their defensive systems couldn't counter. 3 crystalline ships shattered instantly, their perfect forms breaking apart in a cascade of light. Multiple direct hits, Walsh reported, unable to keep the awe from his voice. Enemy shields had zero effect against the redirected energy. The Coraxian fleet's perfect formation wavered for the first time. Their confidence, built on thousands of years of technological superiority, had just been shaken by a single human ship. Send a message to all Coraxian vessels, Sarah ordered, standing once again. Tell them this is just the beginning. If they want to see how humanity handles threats to our existence, they're welcome to continue. Otherwise, we're prepared to discuss terms for their immediate withdrawal. As the message was transmitted, Sarah watched the enemy fleet's formation. The next few moments would determine whether this would be a short demonstration or a long battle. Either way, humanity had just proved they weren't the primitive species the Coraxians had assumed. The pattern, as their enemies were fond of saying, was about to change. Echo and response. The Coraxian fleet's response came not in words, but in action. Their crystalline ships realigned with fluid grace, forming a new pattern that Sarah had never seen in any intelligence briefing. The enemy was adapting, exactly as Dr. Tanaka had predicted they would. Multiple energy signatures detected, Rivera called out. They're modulating their weapon frequencies across a much wider spectrum. His hands moved across his console, making minute adjustments to the echo field sensitivity. Sarah watched the tactical display as dozens of Coraxian vessels began charging their weapons. They're testing our capabilities, she observed. Commander Walsh, initiate evasive pattern delta. Let's not make it too easy for them. The Ascendant moved with surprising agility for a ship its size, its revolutionary quantum drive allowing for maneuvers that would tear a conventional vessel apart. But Sarah knew they couldn't dodge forever, nor did they need to. The Coraxian attack came in waves, each burst of energy slightly different from the last. Red, blue, and violet beams lanced through space, their frequencies shifting mid-flight in an attempt to bypass the echo field's analytical capabilities. Echo field holding, Rivera reported, though strain showed in his voice. Processing load is at 60% and climbing. The pattern variations are complex, but the system is keeping up. Sarah nodded, watching as the enemy fire was absorbed into the invisible quantum mesh surrounding their ship. Dr. Tanaka, how's our energy storage capacity? The ship's chief scientist responded from her station in engineering. The containment systems are handling the input well, Captain. But they're not just changing frequencies. They're introducing quantum entanglement into their weapon signatures. Fascinating approach. Fascinating later, Sarah replied. Can we still redirect it? Even better, Tanaka answered, excitement clear in her voice. Their entanglement modifications actually make the energy easier to manipulate once we've captured it. We can split the redirected beams into multiple targeting vectors. Commander Walsh straightened at his tactical station. Captain, that could let us engage multiple targets with a single captured burst. Make it happen, Sarah ordered. She opened a channel to engineering. Chief Rodriguez, I need maximum power to the structural integrity field. We're about to try something new. The next correction barrage came just as heavy as the first, but this time the Ascendant didn't just absorb the attack, it transformed it. The echo field shimmered with captured energy, and then released it in a spectacular display of controlled chaos. Each redirected beam split into multiple streams, each targeting a different Coraxian vessel. Their own entangled energy signatures became their weakness, creating resonance cascades that overwhelmed their shields. Direct hits on 17 targets, Walsh announced. 5 ships completely disabled, 3 showing critical damage. Wait. He paused, studying his readings. Captain, the damaged vessels are regenerating. Their hulls are actually repairing themselves. Sarah had expected something like this. The Coraxians hadn't survived for 10 millennia by being easy to destroy. Dr. Tanaka. Analysis. The crystalline structure of their ships appears to be semi-organic, Tanaka reported. It can reorganize itself at the molecular level, given enough energy. There was a pause as she consulted her instruments, but that regeneration is drawing power from their weapons and shields. They can't attack at full strength while healing. A new holographic transmission cut through the bridge's tactical displays. The Coraxian commander had returned, its crystalline form now pulsing with rapid color changes that suggested agitation. Your technology should not exist, it stated flatly. This pattern is impossible. You cannot have developed such capabilities independently. Sarah met the hologram's gaze. Humanity has a talent for doing the impossible, especially when our survival is at stake. You have been corrupted by external influences, the Coraxian insisted. No young species could create quantum manipulation systems of this complexity. You will reveal the source of this contamination. The source. Sarah allowed herself a small smile. Human ingenuity, human determination, and most importantly, human creativity. We looked at the universe differently than you do, and found possibilities you never considered. The Coraxian's colors shifted to deep red. Unacceptable. The pattern must be corrected. The transmission cut off abruptly. Multiple hyperspace signatures, Rivera warned. The rest of their fleet is arriving. Sarah watched as hundreds more crystalline ships emerged from hyperspace, their formation creating a massive 3-dimensional lattice around the Ascendant. The enemy commander was done testing. This would be an all-out assault. Dr. Tanaka. Sarah called out. Remember those theoretical modifications you wanted to try with the echo field harmonics? The ones that might let us chain reaction their energy signatures, Tanaka asked. Those were highly experimental, Captain. We never got them to work in simulation. No time like the present to experiment. Sarah replied. Upload the modifications to the echo field control systems. Commander Walsh, plot us a course directly through the center of their formation. Walsh turned in his chair. Through the middle of their fleet. Captain, even with the echo field. That's insane. Sarah finished for him. Exactly. They're expecting us to be logical, tactical, to behave according to their patterns. So we'll do what humans do best, something completely unexpected. The tactical display showed the Coraxian fleet closing in, their ships creating an ever-tighter sphere around the Ascendant. They thought they were trapping humanity's last defender. Sarah intended to show them just how wrong they were. All hands, she announced shipwide. Secure for aggressive maneuvering. We're about to show the Coraxians why humanity has survived every crisis we've ever faced. She settled into her command chair, eyes fixed on the approaching fleet. Because when our backs are against the wall, we don't just fight back. We change the rules of the game. Adaptation. The Ascendant surged forward. its quantum drive pushing the boundaries of physics as it accelerated toward the heart of the Coraxian fleet. The enemy vessels tightened their formation, creating an interlocking network of energy fields between their ships. "They're linking their shields," Rivera reported, his fingers dancing across his console as he analyzed the new threat, "creating some kind of unified defensive grid. The complexity of the pattern is incredible." Sarah studied the tactical display, watching as lines of force connected the crystalline ships into a vast geometric web. "Dr. Tanaka, what are we looking at?" "They're not just linking shields." Tanaka's voice held a note of fascination. "They're creating a unified quantum field, sharing power and computational resources across their entire fleet. It's like they're turning hundreds of ships into a single organism." The implications were both impressive and concerning. The Coraxians had just demonstrated why they had dominated space for millennia. Their technology wasn't just advanced, it was adaptive on a scale humanity had barely theorized about. "New energy signature detected," Walsh warned. "It's massive. They're channeling power from their entire fleet into some kind of focused weapon system." Sarah felt a familiar tension in her shoulders, the kind that came with making decisions that could change the course of history. "Dr. Tanaka, can the echo field handle that much energy if they hit us?" "Unknown, Captain," Tanaka replied honestly. "We designed the system to analyze and redirect energy weapons, but this is beyond anything we simulated. The raw power they're gathering could overwhelm our containment systems." "Could," Sarah noted, "but it hasn't yet." She opened a channel to engineering. "Chief Rodriguez, route all available power to the echo field's containment systems. Dr. Tanaka, begin implementing those experimental modifications. Commander Walsh, maintain our course." The Coraxian fleet's unified field began to pulse with building energy, creating ripples in the fabric of space itself. Their crystalline ships resonated in harmony, each facet glowing with internal light that grew steadily brighter. "They're trying to force us to change course," Walsh observed. "If we maintain our trajectory, we'll have nowhere to dodge when they fire." Sarah's expression remained calm, though her mind raced through calculations and possibilities. "That's exactly what we want them to think." "Lieutenant Rivera, status of the echo field modifications." "Integration at 80%, Rivera reported. "Dr. Tanaka's changes are altering the field's quantum structure. It's becoming more fluid, more responsive. But Captain, the power readings from their combined weapon are still climbing." The space around the Ascendant warped visibly as they penetrated deeper into the Coraxian formation. The enemy fleet's linked energy field created strange distortions in the void, like ripples in a pond made of starlight. "Message from the Coraxian commander," Walsh announced. "Put it through," Sarah ordered, never taking her eyes off the tactical display. The alien's holographic form appeared, its crystalline body now pulsing with intense, synchronized patterns that matched its fleet's energy signature. "Your courage is noted, but irrelevant. Surrender now, and we will ensure your species' pattern is preserved in our archives before correction." "Preserved in archives." Sarah's voice carried a sharp edge. "That's not survival. That's extinction with a museum exhibit. Humanity doesn't preserve well. We're too busy growing, changing, evolving. Evolution without guidance leads to chaos," the Coraxian stated. "Your resistance proves this. You race toward your destruction, refusing the wisdom of an elder civilization." "No," Sarah countered. "We race toward the future. Our future. The one we choose for ourselves." She cut the transmission with a gesture. "All hands, brace for impact. This is where we prove what humanity's really capable of." The Coraxian weapon reached full power, their entire fleet glowing like an artificial sun. The combined energy of hundreds of ships focused into a single devastating beam aimed directly at the Ascendant. "Echo field at maximum power," Rivera called out. "Containment systems ready, I think." "You think?" Walsh asked. "When dealing with something no one's ever done before," Sarah replied. "Thinking is all we've got." She took a deep breath, along with courage, determination, and really good timing. Stand by to execute pattern Omega on my mark. The correction beam fired, a lance of pure energy that could have vaporized a small moon. But instead of trying to dodge, the ascendant flew straight into it. The echo field flared brilliantly as it encountered the massive energy wave, its quantum structure adapting and shifting according to Tanaka's modifications. Warning alarms blared throughout the ship as the containment systems struggled to handle the enormous power input. But something unexpected was happening. The echo field wasn't just absorbing the energy. It was learning from it, adapting to the complex patterns of the correction's unified field. Captain. Tanaka's voice held a mix of awe and excitement. The echo field is synchronizing with their network. Their attempt to link their ships together gave us access to their entire command and control system. Sarah allowed herself a fierce grin. Just like we hoped. They're so focused on perfect patterns, they never considered someone might use those patterns against them. Execute pattern Omega. Now. The Ascendant's echo field pulsed once, twice, and then released its stored energy in a carefully calculated burst. But this wasn't a simple weapon discharge. The energy carried embedded quantum signals that propagated through the correction's own unified field, creating a cascade of feedback loops in their linked systems. The effect was devastating. Ship after ship lost power as their perfectly synchronized network became their greatest vulnerability. The crystalline vessels began to drift, their internal lights flickering and fading. 80% of enemy fleet experiencing critical system failures, Walsh reported, his voice filled with disbelief. Their unified field is collapsing. They're falling apart. Not falling apart, Sarah corrected. Adapting. Just not in the way they expected to. She opened a channel to the Correxian command ship. This is Captain Chen. I suggest we have that discussion about withdrawal now. Unless you prefer another demonstration of human ingenuity. Breaking point. Silence filled the void as the disabled Correxian ships drifted in space, their crystalline forms now dim and listless. The perfect geometric pattern of their formation had dissolved into chaos, a visual representation of how completely humanity had upended their worldview. Damage report, Sarah ordered, though the Ascendant had emerged remarkably intact from its daring maneuver. Hull integrity at 92%, Rodriguez reported from engineering. Echo field containment systems are stressed but holding. Dr. Tanaka's modifications actually improved our overall efficiency. We're processing energy more cleanly now than when we started. Sarah allowed herself a moment to appreciate the irony. The Correction's attempt to overwhelm them had instead helped them refine their technology. Adaptation in the heat of battle, a very human trait that their enemies had never considered. Captain. Walsh called from tactical. We're receiving multiple transmission requests. Not just from their command ship. At least 30 individual vessels are trying to contact us directly. That was interesting. The Corrections operated on strict hierarchies, with lower-ranked ships never acting without direct orders from their superiors. This breakdown in their chain of command suggested something unprecedented was happening within their fleet. Put the command ship through first, Sarah ordered. Let's see what they make of all this. The holographic form of the Correxian commander materialized, but its appearance had changed dramatically. The perfect crystalline symmetry of its body was now marked by visible fractures, and its color patterns had become erratic, almost chaotic. You have. The alien's translated voice carried unfamiliar harmonics. You have corrupted the pattern. This is not possible. This is not correct. Sarah studied the being carefully. The pattern wasn't corrupted, Commander. It evolved. Just like humanity has evolved, adapting to each new challenge we faced. That's what living things do. They change. Changes. Disorder. The Correction insisted, but there was uncertainty in its tone. Our civilization has maintained stability for 10,000 years by following the true patterns. And in all that time, Sarah countered, Did you never wonder what new patterns might be waiting to be discovered? What potential you might have missed by refusing to explore beyond your established limits? Before the commander could respond, multiple new holograms appeared on the bridge. Correxian ship captains broadcasting without authorization. Their crystalline forms showed similar signs of disruption, but their color patterns suggested excitement rather than distress. "The humans speak truth," one of them declared. "I have analyzed the energy patterns they used against us. The complexity, the creativity. It opens possibilities we have never considered." "Silence," the commander ordered, but for the first time, its subordinates did not obey. "For millennia, we have sought to impose order on the galaxy," another captain said. "But these humans have shown us that true stability comes not from rigid adherence to old patterns, but from the ability to adapt and create new ones." Sarah watched in fascination as more Correxian captains joined the discussion, their previously locked minds suddenly alive with new ideas and possibilities. The echo field hadn't just disrupted their ship's systems. It had somehow broken through the mental patterns that had constrained their thinking for thousands of years. "Dr. Tanaka," she called out, "what exactly did your modifications do to their network?" "Something remarkable," Tanaka replied, her voice filled with excitement. "The quantum signals we sent through their unified field didn't just overload their systems. They created new neural pathways in their crystalline structures. Their ships and their bodies are made of similar materials, so when we disrupted their technological patterns, we disrupted their thought patterns too," Sarah finished. "We didn't just show them a new way of using technology. We showed them a new way of thinking." The Correxian commander's hologram flickered as it struggled to process these changes. This is not correction. This is transformation. The pattern is whatever we choose to make it," one of the rebel captains declared. "The humans have proven this. They took our greatest weapon and turned it into a tool for change. They did not submit to the pattern. They rewrote it." Sarah stepped forward, addressing all the Correxian holograms. "This doesn't have to end in destruction. Humanity doesn't want to destroy your civilization. We want to exchange ideas, to learn from each other. You have millennia of knowledge and experience. We have creativity and new perspectives. Imagine what we could accomplish together." The bridge fell silent as the Correxians processed this proposal. Their color patterns shifted through complex sequences, indicating deep internal discussions. Finally, the commander spoke again, its voice carrying a new harmony. Perhaps there is wisdom in this. Our patterns have remained unchanged for so long, we forgot why we created them in the first place. They were meant to guide us, not constrain us." "Then let's write a new pattern," Sarah suggested, "one that includes both our species, learning and growing together." More Correxian ships were coming back online now, but they made no aggressive moves. Instead, their crystalline forms began to pulse with new colors, creating beautiful and unpredictable patterns in space. They were already beginning to experiment, to explore the freedom that came with breaking free from rigid constraints. "Commander Walsh," Sarah ordered, "stand down from combat status, but maintain defensive readiness. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them." She smiled as she watched the Correxian ships creating their spontaneous light show. "Tell them we've achieved first contact. Real contact, not just conflict. And tell them to prepare for some very interesting diplomatic discussions." The Ascendant had been built to save humanity through superior technology. Instead, it had saved two civilizations by bringing them together, proving that the greatest victories don't always come from destroying an enemy. Sometimes they come from helping them grow beyond their limitations. Evolution. 3 months after the battle that changed two civilizations, the Ascendant once again orbited Earth, but this time it was accompanied by a dozen Correxian vessels, their crystalline forms now displaying ever-changing patterns that would have been considered heretical in their old society. Captain Sarah Chen stood in the ship's conference room, watching through the viewport as shuttles moved between the vessels, carrying human scientists and Coraxian scholars engaged in an unprecedented exchange of knowledge. Dr. Tanaka sat beside her, reviewing data on a holographic display. "Their quantum integration theories are fascinating," Tanaka said, her eyes bright with excitement. "They've been developing these technologies for thousands of years, but they never thought to use them the way we did. And now that they're free to experiment, they're like children discovering a new toy." Sarah finished, smiling as she watched a Coraxian ship spontaneously alter its crystalline structure, transforming from a rigid geometric shape into a flowing, organic form. "Hard to believe these are the same beings who wanted to correct us out of existence." Commander Walsh entered the conference room, carrying a datapad. "Latest reports from the Joint Research Teams, Captain. The corrections have already helped us improve the echo field's efficiency by 300%, and that's just the beginning." Sarah nodded, remembering the tense negotiations that had followed the battle. The Coraxian fleet's unified network had been permanently altered by the Ascendant's quantum pulse, leading to what they now called the Great Awakening among their people. The rigid hierarchies and thought patterns of their ancient civilization had been disrupted, allowing new ideas and perspectives to emerge for the first time in millennia. "How are they handling the changes?" she asked. Not all of them were happy about abandoning their old ways. "Better than expected," Walsh replied. "The conservative factions are still resistant, but they can't deny the results. The ships that embrace the new patterns have achieved technological breakthroughs that were thought impossible under the old system. Innovation breeds innovation." A soft chime announced a visitor, and Lieutenant Rivera entered with one of the Coraxian scholars. The alien's crystalline form flickered with patterns of blue and gold, colors that humans had learned indicated excitement and discovery. "Captain Chin," the Coraxian's translated voice carried harmonics of joy. "We have achieved something remarkable in the quantum physics laboratory. Would you care to observe?" Sarah gestured toward the door. "Lead the way, Scholar Vex." As they walked through the Ascendant's corridors, Sarah noticed how comfortably the Coraxian moved through the human ship. The first few weeks after the battle had been awkward, with the aliens struggling to adapt to environments that didn't follow their precise geometric patterns. Now they seemed to appreciate the organic chaos of human design. The quantum physics lab had been specially modified to accommodate both species' needs. Human computers and instruments sat alongside crystalline Coraxian technology, the two systems integrated in ways that would have seemed impossible just months ago. "Observe," Vex said, activating a demonstration field in the center of the lab. Within it, streams of energy danced and intertwined, forming patterns that seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. "We have combined your echo field principles with our quantum crystalline technology. The results exceed anything either of our species could have achieved alone." Sarah watched the energy display with appreciation. "It's beautiful. But what does it do?" "It breaks down barriers," Vex replied, its colors shifting to deeper shades of blue. "Not just energy barriers or shields, but the fundamental barriers between space and time. We believe this technology could revolutionize faster than light travel, communication, even the way we understand reality itself." "And to think," Sarah mused, "none of this would have happened if we fought the battle the way everyone expected. If we'd simply tried to overpower each other. We would have remained trapped in our old patterns." Vex finished. "Your ship's attack did not just defeat us, it freed us. Some among my people call it divine intervention, but I see it as evolution. The universe guided our species together because we each had something the other needed." A notification chimed on Sarah's comm unit. "Speaking of evolution, the first joint human Coraxian vessel is ready for its commissioning ceremony. Shall we head to the observation deck?" They arrived just in time to watch as the new ship emerged from Earth's orbital shipyards. It was unlike anything either civilization had created before, a perfect blend of human and Coraxian design philosophy. Its hull was made of living crystal, but followed human architectural principles, creating something that was neither rigid nor chaotic, but harmoniously balanced between the two. The convergence, Vex said, naming the vessel with obvious pride. First of her class, and hopefully not the last. She carries weapons that can disable enemies without destroying them, shields that adapt and learn, and scientific instruments that will help us explore the galaxy in ways neither of our peoples imagined. Sarah watched the ship power up its systems, its crystalline hull shifting with patterns of light that seemed to dance between order and chaos. A symbol of what we can achieve when we stop trying to impose our ways on each other and learn to grow together instead. Indeed, Vex agreed. My people spent 10,000 years trying to perfect the pattern. We never realize that true perfection comes not from rigid adherence to a single form, but from the endless dance of creativity and change. As if to emphasize the point, the convergence began its first maneuvers, moving with a grace that seemed impossible for its size. Its hull reflected the light of Earth's sun in ever-changing ways, creating a display that celebrated both the order the corrections cherish and the innovation humanity brought to the stars. "What do you think we'll find out there?" Sarah asked, gesturing toward the vast expanse of space visible through the viewport. "Now that we're exploring together instead of conquering." Vex's crystalline form shimmered with multiple colors, the Caraxian equivalent of laughter. "Captain Chen, I believe we will find exactly what both our peoples have been seeking all along. Not perfection, but growth. Not conquest, but connection. Not the end of the pattern, but its endless evolution." Sarah smiled as she watched the convergence begin its first patrol, escorted by both human and Caraxian vessels. The ship represented more than just a technological achievement. It was a promise of what diverse civilizations could achieve when they chose to learn from each other instead of fighting. The battle that could have ended in extinction had instead sparked a renaissance for both species. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, Sarah knew, other civilizations were waiting to be discovered. Other patterns were waiting to be explored. Other possibilities were waiting to evolve. Humanity had proven itself against one of the galaxy's oldest civilizations, not through superior firepower, but through creativity and adaptability. Now those same qualities would help guide both species toward a future neither could have imagined alone. The pattern, as the corrections would say, was just beginning.